Yeah, welcome to this session about EBRAINS. Actually, the title says it all. A major achievement of HBP. I think HBP can be very proud to have established EBRAINS. And when we talk about EBRAINS, it is sometimes difficult, even for members of HBP, to explain it. Of course, if you say it's a wonderful, fantastic digital infrastructure to advance neuroscience, to advance medical analytics, to advance brain-derived neurotechnologies, this is all correct. But it's more, and it's challenging to capture it in a kind of tangible way to people who are not so familiar with it. And in this panel, this is what we try to a little bit address. And it's important also to realize that although there are about 70 tools and services in EBRAINS, it's important to realize that there's a lot of effort made that some of these tools collaborate and integrate and establish workflows which make it easy for many users to combine various aspects of their work. Just an example from our own work, when we build models of the brain for AI-like systems, we basically can, with an elegant Python interface, interrogate the human brain atlas and constrain our modeling. And this is just a tiny example of a huge amount of workflows which are there, which are in a sense, making EBRAINS more than the sum of its parts. And today, I'm very happy that we have a very distinguished expert panel to discuss EBRAINS and to give also examples that you get a bit more tangible feeling what EBRAINS means and how it works and what it brings to the future. Because as a major achievement of HBP, it's of course also extremely important for the future. And I have 5 panelists here. I have Sandra DIAZ from the Forschungszentrum Jülich. She's also a member of the German node. So EBRAINS, we will allude to that too, has of course national nodes. Then we have Nicola Palermo GALLAGHER, also from Jülich. And she will explain to us how she uses and contributed to EBRAINS. Then we have Trygve LEERGAARD from Oslo, University of Oslo, and he is the lead of the Norwegian national node, and very expert on EBRAINS actually, since many years, since the beginning, as far as I know. Then we have Philippe VERNIER, the lead of the French national node, and he has very important insights and perspectives on EBRAINS, which he will share with us. And we have Francesco PAVONE from University of Florence, and he will share his thoughts and views of the current EBRAINS, but also looks a bit into the future. So we will have a rich discussion, and I want to start actually with Sandra. Sandra, you are a great expert on high-performance computing, on HPC, and also an excellent computational neuroscientist. And I want to ask you how you use EBRAINS in your work.
Yes, thank you very much, Raina. Well, EBRAINS has really transformed a lot what we do in the area of HPC. My group in Jülich is particularly focused on linking the neuroscience community with high-performance computing infrastructure. And we are, so to say, some kind of high-level support team which also works on co-designing software and applications with the scientists. So for us, building up EBRAINS inside of the Human Brain Project has been an incredible adventure because it has allowed us to understand better the requirements of the community and translate them into workflows, methodologies, strategies that are able to leverage high-performance computing to create new science. As you very well mentioned before, it is not only about having applications or a small software that's distributed here and there. It is also about working together. It means that today we have more and more scientists, especially young scientists, who come to us with interesting ideas, asking if this is possible. And sometimes I tell the colleagues in my group, yeah, we have to inspire people. think about it, how to use these new tools which make access to HPC a lot easier and a basis for sharing also data. So more particularly, for example, in my group, we do also some tools for middleware in which we allow, for example, to do optimizations of different models. We support this work, of course, by a combination of different knowledge and in disciplines. And this type of optimization that we do with the learning-to-learn tools, which we derived together with Professor Maas in Graz, many collaborations. Then we found many interested colleagues who wanted to use these tools to understand better what these models were doing. And then we expanded this not only to models, but maybe to other processes like image processing and optimization of certain parameters. So you see how really interacting with the community and leveraging all these tools that came out in eBRAINS has really enhanced the way that neuroscience can take advantage of HPC in many different ways.
Thank you so much. This is a very clear description of the power of eBRAINS. Thanks so much. I want now to continue actually with Nicola. You are also in Jülich, and you know, you have, I know, used and contributed to eBRAINS. Can you first describe a bit what your perspective from using eBRAINS is?
Thank you, Rainer, for the nice introduction. Well, building a bit on what Sandra said, I'm an anatomist, and I don't know anything about coding or anything of the sort, and the support that's been provided by the infrastructure has meant that work that cost me in the past 2 or 3 days to achieve a certain goal, I can achieve now within 10 minutes, and I can do it from anywhere in the world just using my laptop, right? Wow. There's this infrastructure that has been created for the virtual microscopy, these super high resolution images of cell body stained human brain sections, and they are just fantastic. I use them for teaching, I use them for analysis, I use them to create figures for my articles. And these are gigantic images, right? And they're very heavy images. So you know these wonderful new televisions that are out now, the 4K televisions, they have 4,000 by 2,000 pixel resolution. These images that we have to work with, these high resolution digitalized histological sections, they have a resolution of 150,000 by 100,000 pixels. So they're a hell of a lot bigger than these super 4K televisions, right? And they're so difficult to handle. You can't just use them on any kind of computer. You have to use them with supercomputers. But people like me who don't know how to code, who don't know how to program, it's not easy for us to access this kind of data directly. And the infrastructure has put it on a platform, a web-based platform, and as I said, you know, it would have in the past cost me 2 days to acquire an image that I would want to use for a slide, and I would need help from an expert, and this is something that I can do by myself now from anywhere in the world within 10 minutes.
Wow, thanks so much. That was a very good explanation of the power, how efficient you work now with eBRAINS and how much time it saves you. Yeah, wonderful. Trygve, you are one of the architects of eBRAINS, and yeah, you know at least a lot about it. You're one of the experts, leading experts, honestly. And don't be too shy. I mean, Ehre wem Ehre gebührt. Sorry for the German. So my point to you is, what is your view on eBRAINS? So how it emerged, where we are now? What is your perspective on eBRAINS?
Well, our group has contributed primarily to the development of what now is the data and knowledge services, as well as the Atlas services, together with teams both in Brussels, Jülich,
Can you
Paris.
put your microphone a bit closer?
And of course, we have seen over these years a tremendous change in what these services can deliver. And first, think about what is the impact of these services. We use them for many things, and it has transformed the way we do our experimental research, which is in the field of systems neuroscience, studying distributions of various cell types and molecules and connections. And this has allowed us to analyze data in a much more rigorous way. We can handle larger amounts of data. We have better tools to integrate data in Atlas space, and we have more powerful tools to extract data. And we also saw examples of this in the earlier talk today by G. Kim, yes. How we now have the tools we need in order to make completely different use of data that we have been able to produce for many years, but that previously were thrown away. Another interesting thing is, over the years, to have seen how the society, the research society, has changed tremendously. So in Norway, for example, all universities have in their policies that all data should be shared openly in accordance with the FAIR principles. Mm-hmm. If you get funding from the Norwegian Research Council, you're required to deliver a data management plan, and you have to share your data. And that also means that EBRAINS is exactly what the researchers need in order to achieve that. And that is one of the primary goals also for the Norwegian national node of EBRAINS, to reach out and make sure that we tailor our workflows to meet the needs of those researchers. And it's quite interesting to get feedback from the researchers who basically realize their need at the moment of getting a paper accepted. Mm-hmm. Because then they are requested to provide DOIs for their data. And what they tend to do is then to put the data somewhere in a repository, get their DOI and move on. But as a result of that, you see that data are being dispersed and they are not findable, not reusable, and not integrated. And I think that is one of the powerful things we can achieve with EBRAINS, and that is also one of the powerful messages we need to convey, that EBRAINS can make that happen. And I think also the data we had on the screen here in the previous talk, it would be wonderful to see those tracer injection data in context integrated with other data that are in the EBRAINS knowledge graph that you can search and find, and to see that together, because it will allow us to do efficient analysis on the fly, almost.
Wonderful point. Actually, it's not only in Norway, I can tell you, it's also in the Netherlands and many other countries that we need data management plans, we need to follow the FAIR principles. So therefore, EBRAINS serves here, I think, almost everyone for storing, sharing, making it publicly available. That's what we, for example, also use heavily via EBRAINS. Thanks so much for this first view. I come back to you in a moment. I now want to turn to Philippe. Philippe, you are the leader of the French national node. Can you share a bit with us your perspective on EBRAINS and as a lead of a node?
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Heiner. Yes, this one is not working. So yes, so for me, I came very late in the process. I would say I'm a newcomer in the EBRAINS process. But and for me, the main challenge which we have had still is to convince our community to adhere to EBRAINS, to use EBRAINS. I think that Trygve has made the point already. You know, we need to have this fair data accessible. And more than that, in fact, acquiring data, getting the tools that people have developed during the Human Belt project has been a huge amount of work. And this happens also outside of the HBP. You know, many data that the one of Anna Monnier showed us before, or others have been acquired outside of the Human Brain Project, but they are extremely useful for modeling, and this should be accessible to everyone. And so I think one of the main challenges ahead of EBRAINS is to convince people to use it, and also to make it really working well for everyone. And I think we need to devote our effort to that. Also, I would like to emphasize something which has been already quite well demonstrated during the talks these last few days, is that also data needs to be curated. You know, it's not just raw data. You can provide to the users for many other utilization they may have. So this kind of curation is extremely time-consuming, extremely difficult to do, and this should be shared after that. And this is a major also a goal, I think, of EBRAINS, and we need to find a way to support this kind of actions. And my role as a node leader is to try to spread in the community, you know, these ideas. As it has already been said, we have really changes in the way science is done now, because for many reasons it's extremely expensive, time-consuming, and also we need to adhere to these fair principles. And for this, we have to teach also, to train the community. This is another aspect I would like also to emphasize. I have seen also in the past few months that when we have organized, you know, training sessions, how useful it has been for the community. And this also, we not only for the young generation, I would say, also for the researcher, we are not used to think digital, I would say. So you see, it's just a flavor of, I don't want to monopolize the talk here, but this is one of the few key elements I think I would like to support and to develop in the next few months. And we are really believing, you know, in the fact that EBRAINS is a bright future for neuroscience. So we need to devote many efforts of that at the national and international level. And this is another aspect we need to continue collaborating between the groups, because this has not been said yet, but many of the services which have been developed not in a single country, but in several together. And this we should keep this pace, you know, for the future. We have to find ways of continuing this in a very efficient way. This is also somebody has told me, not somebody, manybody have told me that in fact we need to deliver efficient tools, and this we should also devote some effort to that. So in a nutshell, it's what I could have said.
Thank you very much. I steal your microphone. Yes. Thank you very much for these very insightful points. I also like very much that you stress the educational aspects. Of course, HBP has a huge program for education and train thousands of PhD students and postdocs. But I like your point that it should not only be the very young. There should, of course, be prime, candidates of teaching programs. But it's also good that, you know, a bit more aged researchers get used to the new way of thinking, new way of atlasing, new way of modeling and integrating neuroscience and AI and all these new things. It's not something only for the young, I hope. Yeah. And I like your point very much. Now I want to turn to Francesco. Francesco is a lead expert. We know each other in the HBP since many years. And Francesco is also the lead of the Italian national node of EBRAINS. And I would like to hear your opinion about EBRAINS, how it is from your perspective, how useful it is for your work, and also your perspective on EBRAINS for now and into the future.
Thank you, Rainer. And let me take the opportunity to also thank the organizer of this wonderful meeting, and of course, Victor's and all the others, all the staffs, and it's a huge meeting. It's fantastic. Thank you very much. So yes, I mean, I think that I would like to start saying that we learn a lot from these opportunities, and it changed radically the way we are doing research, because enlarged our view, enlarged our mind, and we were forced somehow to be very interdisciplinary and to learn a lot of things. For example, in our lab, we have to develop completely new tools to generate new images in high resolution all over the brain, and then develop new biotechnology to marker neurons and new artificial deep learning algorithms to treat the images and then curate the images and then interact with people doing simulation in order to create customized data to have bottom-up, top-down, let's say, modeling of the brain. So that was fantastic. And there was, I have to say that without HBP and now in the future without EBRAINS, I would say that's non-natural continuation is, that would not be possible. And that we have to say very clearly that for all of us and for the careers of many young people that now are growing up with the new skills, which are mixture of skills between physics, biotechnology, computer scientists, and all in the same people, is a new class of people. And this is the highest success that we can, more than, let's say, services, more than papers and stuff like that, because we have to launch toward the future the young generations. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is that how do I see the future? Well, I think that for our history, since the Florence meeting, we start involving the whole community in this process of aggregation towards the brains. And we start involving hospitals, we start involving industries, schools. I remember in the open day in Florence, there were 850 people from the high school following. No one was looking at the iPhone. Well, this is a big success to have 850 students without looking to the phone and looking, and we were talking about the brain. So I think that one of the main, let's say, objectives of EBRAINS is to generate culture, is to generate a new class of people, a new competencies, you know, and also to give passions also to young people. We were talking about educations, but education is not only postdocs, it's also high school people, because it's from them that we have to give the passions, and also enlarge to a lot of fields. We have now computer science, we have now, of course, physics, chemistry, biology, psychology, philosophy, but what about literature? What about art? What about music? I mean, this is something we can think about, and offering maybe also services based on neuroscience, based on digital, based on customized data produced for those modeling that we can really open up to a large. So we have these huge responsibilities, in my opinion, to impact culture. And then it comes the services. But we believe in Italy that everything must be science-driven. So we, for example, we are thinking to a scheme that we call multimodal, multi-level, multimodal. So we want to approach the brain from the multi-scale, spatial-temporal scales in integrated efforts, because we learn from HBP that we can offer integrated services with all those competencies are integrated each other's. And I believe that the born of the Italian node can be not independently from the French one or from the Holland one, because each one of us can offer typical or different kind of, let's say, science, service, and then consequently on that, typical services, which are based on those kind of things. So I believe that the EBRAINS will be like the brain. It's an integrated ecosystem where every pieces cannot live independently.
Thanks so much for this very insightful statements, and I fully support them. The culture, the way how to change, how to integrate even other disciplines. Actually, in the context of your both stressing and also before the teaching and education, I want to give you an example from my own university, which I'm a bit proud of. We start next year a bachelor brain science program, brain science, which is transdisciplinary in its name, has it in the name, and it's heavily inspired by Human Brain Project. So therefore, when we argued for that new program, we used the HBP as an example, exactly like you alluded to create these more interdisciplinary, we call it transdisciplinary, new generation. So we will start in the bachelor now to train that and help EBRAINS and HBP, so to say, by bringing this into the regular program of the university. I want to go back now actually first to Nicola, because you have nicely explained how you use EBRAINS and a few points how it makes your life more efficient, very, very convincing. But I know you are also a contributor to EBRAINS. Can you a bit allude to what you have contributed?
Yes, thank you, Rainer. This is also, you know, close to my heart to be able to tell people what I've contributed, because I don't want to just take from the community. I also want to give to the community. So, for example, within the atlases, the autoradiographic receptor data that's in there, that comes from my group, and it's been used now for different modeling purposes and integrated, so that's nice to see that it's getting reused. And Wim mentioned this morning at the end of his talk the non-human primate template that we just created within the framework of HBP work. It's very new, but it's a really pretty template, I must say. And Lydia helped me also. Well, she helped me. She did the work. She's now implemented in the knowledge graph the possibility to search for homologies. So if you are mainly a human neuroscientist, well, we're all human neuroscientists here, but you know what I mean. If you're really only interested in the human brain, but you want to know maybe what kind of data would be available in other species, such as in the rodent atlases that Trygve and his team and Jan have been developing in Oslo, or in the non-human primate brain, you can now look for homologous structures as well. So this is something that also facilitates then people's work. So you just click on a button and it will tell you, well, you're interested in human hippocampus, but you know something, we also have data for the hippocampus in the macaque monkey or in the rat or in the mouse hippocampus. So this is also a nice advancement that will hopefully make scientists' life in the future also easier and expand their horizons, which is something that EBRAINS has done for my neuroscientific horizon.
Thanks so much for this example. I think you said you want to give something back, which is a very nice motif, of course. I think this is one aspect. The other probably will be also in the future that people will be proud that their work is in EBRAINS, is used by others. It's a way of dissemination, which is, we know, for our evaluations as scientists, very important. And there's also probably that people hopefully get proud that this my work or my data is now part in EBRAINS. It's findable there, or my tool is there and others use it. I think this is also something human, that we want to disseminate our work. And I think EBRAINS has this mechanism, and as a platform which is going more and more out and is more and more used also by new ideas coming from the national nodes. It's very important, to build on this also, that it's helpful for others, but it's also a very nice way and to share data, to share tools with others and being proud of that. I think we should not forget. I think that's also a good motivation to do this, next to the best one you have said, to give something back. Sandra, I want to ask you also, I know also that you developed and co-developed parts of EBRAINS, high-performance computing infrastructures. Can you allude a bit what that part of your work was, kind of the more contributing side?
Yes, well, in our group, in the Simulation and Data Lab Neuroscience, we contribute to the development of many simulation tools like NEST, TVB, Arbor. We also support many other simulators who want to move to the supercomputing infrastructure. There has been also a big effort in coordinating efforts, so networking, and as well as really extracting requirements from the community to inform the design and architecture of EBRAINS as an infrastructure. So, for example, my colleague Wouter Klein and the Scientific Liaison Unit, they have really tried to approach the community to know what is missing, what is required, and talk to them and really understand if we are building the right thing, right? If we are putting our efforts in the right part. As I mentioned, we are a little bit on the co-design, but also a high-level support. And we contribute to the high-level support of the HBP in many different aspects as well. Maybe I take the chance in this point to say something that I feel is very important to remember. The EBRAINS research infrastructure is not just software tools and data and an atlas and the neuromorphic hardware. It has a soul, and this soul relies on the passionate researchers and developers who put all their effort and their time to build this infrastructure. And this real drive to help the community by sharing their code and trying to make science more reproducible, more robust by creating certain useful tools and patterns that can be employed by everybody, this really should translate into helping the community forward. So it is a team effort. We cannot have an expert on EBRAINS research infrastructure. It would be impossible. We are all part of it. We are all contributors to it. And I think we have to continue in the future being a team. Mm-hmm. And that will reflect in the success of EBRAINS, in being adopted and in really reaching people. Because when you're passionate about your work, it really feels, right? So it is not as somebody tells you and explains something to you. Mm-hmm. If you really build this and you're trying to explain how much you can achieve if you use this the right way, and you also know all your colleagues and know, well, if you connect this tool with this other tool, and maybe you can do something amazing. So this part, I think it is very, very important, and I think this was, to a moderate extent, one of the contributions that we had in my group. But also, sharing the amazing experience of building this infrastructure together.
Thank you so much. I think Francesco wants to comment on this.
Yeah, I think an important thing we have to recognize is that if we are here now talking about EBRAINS, it's because HBP, and because of the passion, and because of the people working in HBP, but also from the people leading with passion. So I would like to say that this is not the end of HBP, it's the evolution of HBP, okay? And I would like really to thank not only the people of my group, but also the colleagues and the leading, and especially Catherine Ammons, that has done a fantastic job on all this time.
This is actually a good point to come to a close, because I see time is running short. Wonderful, thanks so much. But I want to also say, Sandra, if the people get the enthusiasm you bring over, then there's no risk for the future. Thanks so much. I think we should now move on to the next session. Thank you so much to the panelists. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.